This video is all about rebuilding the not half shafts, but the output shafts for the diff on this IRS. We're going to cover the teardown, we're going to cover the assembly, how to squish the squish collar to get the preload proper, and then in the next video, because this is going to be part one of a two-part series, we're going to address lock wire. So anyway, let's get going. We are getting down to the final disassembly. We're going to replace those seals while we've got this thing this far apart. And then I'm debating on whether to take these off or just leave them and paint them as is. There's no reason for it that I can see. Alright, let's cut the safety wire. This is right here. It's a bit of overkill, but it's what I could lay my hands on. Cocktail sticks for fingers. Let's just do it this way. These are awesome, by the way. They're little like little bolt cutters. They work great for cutting welding rod, because anything over a 1/16 of an inch is a little hard to cut with a pair of dikes. Oh, isn't that nice? A little cutout so you can get to the bolts. How sweet. Looks like 5/8. Alright, so there you have it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna get my handies dirty. I gotta go. So this has got this retaining ring that was bent up against that corner, and so I just mutilated it and got it down, and then that comes off, and I'll go get my puller. Alright, so I'm not really, oh there we go, just need a little bit of persuasion to come out. Yeah, just a little tappy tap tap. Tappy tap 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 tap. Alright, well I got this cleaned up a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm on about. That is the crush washer, and this kind of sets the preload on the bearings, and it has also done a very fine job of attaching itself to the shaft here, so we got to get it off. because we need to replace that seal. And these bearings, see that wear pattern right? Actually, see that blue? That's heat. So these things got hot and are pretty much done for. And you've got a matching pattern to that in the race. Let's see, yeah, see if you can see that or not. Yeah, there you go, right there. Yeah, that's heat, because you can tell by the color how hot they got. This one not so much, because this is more of a fawn color, but still it's pitted. It's a little pitted, so yeah, it needs to be replaced. So we'll be getting these races out. Excuse me. Right after we get the bearing out. Now I could put it in the press, but I'm going to do things a little differently because I know that not everybody has a press. So I will say they are handy. They are extremely handy. So we're going to use a bearing puller. And I got this from Amazon, and it is just handy as hell. I've been very pleased with it. Now, this is brand new. I haven't used it yet. So we'll just see how this goes. So the plan is you put this, so this is kind of, wow. Got a bit of a taper. And so it just probably works better if I hold onto this. Alright, so then we're going to try to, well, I guess it's going to have to come off. So we'll take this off. Try to keep it in frame. I'm really good at not having stuff in frame. So then we're just kind of, well, I think maybe the bigger one. I think we're going to have to use the bigger one. Alright, so let's, oops, am I going the wrong way? Yeah. Pull this off. There we go. Yeah, this thing is just very, very handy. I don't know how I could have lived without one. There we go. Up and over the threads. Hopefully they won't get bumped up. And we're off. Just like that. Yeah, that thing rocks. Everybody should have one. Alright, so there's a seal. Ooh. Garbage. Now, it's just cleanup time. And I don't want to touch that. You touch it. No, I don't want to touch it. It's gross. You don't want any of this nastiness. This stuff has almost got to be surgically clean. This looks like this bearing spun. No, it didn't spin. It just got really hot, and so that heat just transferred onto the shaft. Now let's just say that I got it all. I got the bearings, the bearing preload, and so I didn't have any end play, and I had to reuse this flat. That would be a bad thing because it's cracked right there. So this not going to reuse. So a new one of these, new crush washer, you can't reuse those because I'm replacing the bearings. Well, even, yeah. I mean, you could reuse, if you reuse the bearings, you could, I could have probably just left that on there, but I don't run that way. But anyway, so get a new these, new bearings, new races, and I could tell by the wear pattern, by this wear pattern, and this wear pattern that those two went together. So you never want to reuse a race. When you replace the bearing, replace this, because it's kind of like a marriage, man. You rub on each other long enough, you know exactly where to rub them raw. Alright, so, seal, going to be replacing the seal. And this O-ring, yeah, and this O-ring was this, the O-ring was to keep that shmoo in there and fit right in that groove there. Alright, so we're going to be assembling, we're going to turn this into this. So this is the output shaft. It has new bearings in it. Preload's already been established. Cleaned up the paint job that got all boogered up during the install. So first, what we've got now is, I've had this together once. Don't ask, it was all bad. Anyway, got the races already in place and checked them to make sure that they're all snug and completely seated. There's a seal, and the seal goes in all the way. It goes in like that, but there's a lip down here, and it sits on that lip, because you don't want the seal, the face of the seal, to be, rubbing up against the input shaft like that, because that'll just destroy it. So there's about 1/8 of an inch, or maybe 1/16 of an inch, to where the seal sits down in here. And yep, it's that time again. Time to dig into the grease. Here we go. Grease, grease, grease. So we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, because this is actually a petroleum-based EP moly grease. It's the usual scumbags, but yeah. The reason why I'm using it is because it's petroleum-based, and I'm going to be putting this in the differential, which also will be having a petroleum-based oil rather than a synthetic, because of the fact that it's a power lock and I don't want to screw up the clutches. And my past experiences on domestics, that's what happened. So anyway, I'm just kind of working this in. It's boring as hell. Anyway, you can kind of see it's starting to squirt through. And I'm just kind of pushing it in the back, and it's pushing it out the front. Okay, so that one is completely done. Got grease all the way around on both sides. So we're going to put this in here like that. So I'm using that dial indicator stand for the camera, and it's working out really good. I'm really excited about it. And you can thank A-Bomb 79 for the idea, because he had an extra Noga and he needed to use it, so he made a base for it. Of course, the tools and the skills that he has, far surpasses what I've done. I mean, mine is just, well, it is what it is. It works. It works. Alright, so now let's put this seal in. Let's get it in straight. And again, the smooth side, that goes against the bearing, because once it's in there, I'm going to take and pack grease in behind it, just so when we get this thing all put together and fired up for the first time, it's not going to run dry. Well, this will work. It's not what I wanted to use, but it'll work. Just want to make sure we're getting it in there straight. Well, there's a section of video where I'm actually putting the half shaft and the caliper holder and keeper for, or not half shaft, but output shaft together. So we're going to kind of do this a little bit differently. This is the output shaft, this is where the seal goes, and this is where the caliper bolts on and kind of keeps all this stuff in place. O-ring. This is a taper bearing. This is the crush sleeve, or as they call it, oil thrower, which I don't know how it's going to throw oil, but what do I know. And this is also the taper bearing. This is the keeper and the nut. This stuff I do have video on. This part I don't. So I guess I'm just going to have to fake it. We've got, well, this obviously goes into here. This O-ring, there's a groove that fits on. This is a tapered bearing. The race, both of these races actually get pressed into this housing here. And then you grease up the bearing, drop it in, drop one side into this housing, and then put the seal on. And then the other one goes, the sleeve goes on, and then the tapered bearing, and then use this nut to take up the slack between the output shaft and this caliper holder piece thingy. Anyway, so yep, that part of the video is gone. I don't know if I didn't turn the camera on or what the deal was, but I've already kind of got this halfway assembled. I'm going to take this end plate out, and there's a crush sleeve, which is just like a piece of steel that fits around the shaft, and as you screw this down, it squishes. And this is the lock ring that you buy, and this one only has one tab, and this had another tab on it, and I broke it off, and the original only had one tab. And the way that I'm going to have to do this is because when you put these together, see how that has a taper on it? That fits in there like that. If you screw it together like this, it just gouges the crap out of the ends of those and makes a huge mess. But I can't get my wrench on this nut with that on. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get the preload just about where I want it, then put the washer on, and then I'm going to dial it in. So that's what we're going to do. So just kind of put this down here, like this. Alright, so it's quite a bit that we're going to take out. And big wrench. And believe me, you need it. This is, I thought, oh, it'll squish easy. No, it doesn't. It doesn't squish easy at all. And as you can see, it's moving the vise. And before, it was moving the table. And this table weighs at least 400 pounds. Okay, let's see if that will keep the vise from moving. Alright, and this wrench is 1 inch and 7/8. we are down to final. We'll be start assembling this. Now the teardown stuff is boring as hell, but there were a couple of things that I learned while doing this. Okay, that's got a key. The pointy thing's up, and remember I cut the key off of, or I cut that pin off the other side. Now this is the only one I've seen, so I don't know why it has, you know, 2 keys on it. Alright, this nut has got a taper on it like that, so you want that to go down against there. Oh, do we have a piece of metal? Why yes we do. Why yes we do. So we don't want that. And I didn't get it either. Alright, so yeah, that's just a, yeah, I don't know if you can see that. So where did that come from? Actually, this groove is loaded with them. And came off of this nut right on this leading edge. Note to self, replace these if you do this, because those are not reusable, evidently. Oh, so I don't really want to use a paper towel. Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. That's not cool. So now it makes me want to look at the whole thing to see if there's any. And you know, this has still got a preload on it, so it ain't gonna move. Alright. Keyed side, daisy side up. Flat side facing up on the nut. Okay, there's that. Now, because we are down to the wire, we're going to need this. Oh, this is just going to get in the way. Alright. Okay. Now we're snug again. We're doing, that feels like about 15 thousandths. Let's check it. I wonder if that's what. Oops. Yeah, so this is janky. So when you use these, you want to kind of set a preload on it. Alright. Dial it to 0. I suppose if you count, you don't have to dial it to 0. You try to want to get it perpendicular, so you don't get what they call a cosine error. But anyway. Alright, so yeah. Just a little bit more to take out of this. let's get sketch, because it doesn't really fit that well. And again, I'm looking for little shards of steel. Set it to 0. Oh, I didn't get this very tight. Alright. Okay. And push it up. We are at 5 thousandths. Perfect. Okay. Now, the next step is to test. Make sure that this is under. It's between 4 and 6 thousandths. It does feel a little tighter than. I think it'll be okay. Alright, and I made a special little bracket for this. We'll go get it. Alright, so this is a bracket that I made to hold it so we can test to make sure that it turns within 6 inch-pounds. So this is a wonderful tool that I made. I've got a video that I'll throw up. Well, I'm not going to throw up. I mean, I have a video that I'll put up that has bits and pieces. I tried to videotape the welding, that just turned out to be a disaster, so that's not going to be in there. Alright, so let's bolt this up, and yeah, let's bolt this up. Alright, so we've got a punch, got a hammer, and which one is the most flat? That would be this one. So when I say flat, I'm referring to which one's going to have the most surface area that I can press up against that collar, or the nut. Alright. Very nice. Alright, now we're going to see how much wiggle we've got after we've got this all assembled. So I'm going to push up on the half shaft, which is on the dial indicator, and it should be about 5 thousandths. About 6. I think that'll be okay. Better than too tight. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we are going to check to make sure that the drag is the same. When I originally, before I took this apart, before I installed the new bearings with the grease and the seal, it was at 4 inch-pounds. And this is a torque limiting screwdriver with chips on it. And so basically what you're doing is you're making sure that after you've taken up this slack between the caliper bracket and the the output shaft, you want to make sure that it hasn't tightened up anymore, and it hasn't. So then what you do is you come Newton meters. So then you set, what I did is I just set this right back to where it was, and that is 3.98, and it turns at 3.98. So that's the way it was before I took the slack out. So this is actually good, and this is ready to install. Just got to install that O-ring, and then we can put that in. Cool. Well, there you have it. We have got these two output shafts ready to be installed. In the next video, I'll actually be sticking them in and tightening them down and hitting them with the lock wire. So stay tuned. And thanks for watching.